So my name is Mario Zavala. I'm the Project Communications Manager for all development projects at DART. You're here for the City of Coppell, Southwest Waters Summer Biannual Community Meeting on the Silver Line. So if you meant to be somewhere else, have your time to get at. All right, I want to remind everyone, we are recording, so you'll have access to the recording online probably sometime next week. So we just ask, I'm sure we'll have questions and concerns. We just ask everyone, be civil and considerate. We'll try to address more questions or concerns as best we can. And if we can't resolve them here, then I'll get your information and I'll follow with you later on. So, like I said, we have members of the Silver Line team here covering construction, environmental, a hike and bike trail, which is a separate project from the Silver Line. So when things come up, we'll have different people come and answer your questions. If not, I'll try to get you as many answers as I can. Like I said, if we can't, we'll address them moving forward. I'll cover the rules of engagement here shortly. I'll have a project overview, milestones of the project, and construction updates. That's the first segment of our presentation. We'll stop there, and then you can ask questions regarding construction, anything going on with the project, or any questions you have overall on the project. Once we're done with that, we'll move into vehicle testing, operating plan, and then how you can stay informed on the project, and then we'll ask questions after that. We got to break it up because there's a lot of information, and then sometimes we'll answer your question if you'll just give us a minute to get further along in the presentation. So that's all I ask is, again, for your patience as we kind of move forward through that. So as we kind of move forward through the process, we'll open up the room for questions, like I said, after that first segment. Raise your hand. We don't have a microphone, but I think we're in a small enough room where we can hear you. If you don't want to ask your question out loud, just raise your hand up, and Ruben is in the back. We'll come over and bring you a card. You can fill that out, and then we'll address your question or concern at the end of the presentation. So we'll gather those. And like I said, we just ask that everyone be civil, and we're trying to do the best we can to get going and give you guys a good program that you can be proud of. So like I said, these are our biannual community meetings. We started at the end of June in Dallas. Yesterday we were in Addison. Today we are here in the city of Dallas again, but Coppell, the area. So we'll answer questions focusing on this segment of the project. If for some reason you need more additional information or you want to pass on information to a neighbor or a friend, I recommend you send them to us in Carrollton next week on Wednesday. So we'll cover our similar stuff, not going all the way further down west into the alignment, but we will cover a lot of the construction progress and again cover some of the same topics. If you're not familiar with the Silver Line overall, so this is a 26-mile regional rail. It serves 7 cities. It spans across 3 counties. You can kind of see here, starting out in Plano to the east, moving west, it goes from Plano into Richardson, continuing into Dallas and then Addison, following up in Carrollton, with a stop here at the Coppell Southwest Water Station, going into Grapevine at DFW Airport, and then finishing up at Terminal B at DFW Airport. So a couple things I'll point out here. This is a connection point at DFW Airport to where you can connect to TexRail. So that's our rail service provided by our partners at Trinity Metro for Tarrant County. Here in downtown Carrollton, this dark green segment is the Denton County Transit Authority, who operates the A-Train. They will eventually provide service into downtown Carrollton. So you'll have a connection point, grabbing the Silver Line from here, going to downtown Carrollton. You can go north into Louisville, Highland Village, and eventually Denton as well. And then finally, over here on the eastern side, both at the 12th Street Station in Plano and the City Line Village Station in Richardson, you'll have access point to light rail service that we currently offer on the orange and red line, taking you further north to the Parker Road Station in Plano, or coming into downtown Dallas. This is a big deal for DART. Like I said, it's a 26-mile alignment, probably our last big major infrastructure build. And it's a big deal because we're moving east to west here. Primarily, every project DART has had has focused on bringing people into and out of downtown Dallas. So this is focusing more along that east-west corridor. You kind of see what I'm talking about here with our rail alignment. So you got the Silver Line alignment here. A-Train coming in from Denton into Carrollton with the green line taking you through downtown Dallas, ending at the UNT Dallas campus. Moving clockwise, we have the red and the orange line. Red starts at Parker Road, comes into Dallas and ends in the airport area. You got the orange line, which also runs from Plano through downtown Dallas, connecting into the urban Las Colinas area, eventually ending at Terminal A at the airport. Then you have the blue line, which starts out in Rowlett, goes in through Garland, the Lake Highlands area, some in North Dallas, again coming into downtown Dallas. And then lastly, you have the TRE, which is our other heavy rail service, which provides transportation from downtown Dallas going into downtown Fort Worth. It pretty much runs along I-30. So some of the community benefits of Silver Line is bringing. We are providing access to the DFW airport, but again, it is a good corridor for you to be able to move east and west. I know in conversations we've had with the town of Addison, the cities of Coppell, cities of Carrollton, there's a lot of excitement about being able basically to avoid Beltline with 635 to be able to move east-west for a lot of traffic there. Mobility. We want to address mobility and provide some sustainability with connecting points. Like I just showed you, you're going to have connecting points to take you into Denton County, further into Dallas County, and into Tarrant County. So we're providing that. One of the additions too is we have the hike and bike trail. So the Coppell Regional Trail is part of this program. They're two separate programs, so they differ from each other. The Silver Line is a DART program. The Coppell Regional Trail is a program being put on by the North Central Texas Council of Governments. So NCT COG oversees that. They're two separate projects. We're kind of the stewards of the trail, if you will, simply because it's being alongside the rail alignment, and we donated the land for that. So that's why those two kind of go together. We want to address growth opportunities. Obviously, whether you're new to the area, you've been here for quite some time, you've noticed a change in population and basic development throughout DFW. It's a hot spot throughout the country to move. If you're not aware, by 2030, we're projected to be the third largest metropolitan area by population in the U.S., only behind New York and LA. So again, we're trying to provide more infrastructure and transportation along with that growth. It also serves as an economic catalyst. So research with UNT tells us that as of right now, currently that's not addressing that growth. You're within a half mile of 200,000 jobs or educational opportunities along the rail line. So that means if you think about walking about 20 minutes for a mile, you're about a 10-minute walk from the front door of several business opportunities or going to the university or junior college. Reliability, again, we want to provide regional connectivity and be more efficient and reliable with our transit. We're providing those connecting points to other rail, and then also using our GOZO, our regional partnerships with DCTA and Trinity Metro, as well as our bus service. And then lastly, safety and security. One of DART's big goals moving forward is to provide fantastic spaces with all of our properties. So if you look at the Silver Line in general, all the stations are being developed currently around transit board development, which is development that came because of the transit, or it has future development plan. So you'll kind of see that as we kind of move forward with the presentation. So getting into the Coppell Regional Trail, you can see here, again, starts east and goes to Plano, ends in downtown Fort Worth with a spur in the Richland Hills area. Total length is 57 miles once it's complete. So our segment is about 26 miles and it runs from Plano to about the Grapevine area. And it'll connect to established trails that are either fully constructed or they're in the process of being constructed. So by the time we're done, you'll be able to walk pretty much from downtown Plano all the way to downtown Fort Worth. It's being constructed, our portion is being constructed in 3 phases. So phase 1 is general infrastructure, which is for the most part complete. That's all the bridges that connect basically existing trail to future new trail. And then all the stuff that had to be built before we started operating trains. Last thing you want to do for safety purposes is be doing construction while you're operating trains. So phase 1 is for the most part wrapped up. Phase 2 we just started earlier this summer. We broke ground in May in different spots along the trail corridor. Phase 2 is focusing between Plano and Carrollton. So most of this is the phase 2 corridor, and that will be completed more than likely by the time of spring of summer of 27, since we just broke ground right now. So it's looking like a 2-year turnaround. Phase 3 is basically from Carrollton moving forward all the way to the airport, which includes Coppell. So that's going to be constructed later. NCT COG is working with each individual city to secure additional funds to complete that trail. We don't have a set time limit, so we haven't really thrown out dates. but we do know that they're actively working to secure different grants and funding sources to be able to finish the trail. So it's coming, we just don't have a set date on when it will be. One thing to note too is, once the trail is complete, even though, like I said, we're the stewards of the construction, the cities will manage the trail. So when you're talking about lighting, benches, trash, maintenance, security, all that, that'll be handled by each respective city. So the trail alongside here in Coppell will be managed by, obviously, the city of Coppell. Project milestones. So we are testing right now. We're testing in all 7 cities. We just started end-to-end testing a couple of weeks ago, so I'll get into more specifics on that shortly. 97% of guideway bridges are completed. This is a photo right here of the longest guideway bridge in the project. So a guideway bridge is basically a rail bridge. This bridge goes over I-75 in Richardson. It's about a mile long. 97% of these are done. We're basically just wrapping up on the walkthroughs there. All the passenger bridges are complete. We do have a freight bridge that we're still working on. 97% of sound and betterment walls are complete. Those are the walls that were erected to prevent noise in the high residential areas. The 3% that are outstanding are basically in the Dallas city limits. So everything here, Coppell, Carrollton area is complete. 100% of pedestrian bridges are complete and awaiting city approval. That means we're done. We're doing walkthroughs right now with the city. Just like when you're finishing up a house, where you're constructing, you have a punch through list, you know, you gotta have to fix this, electrical outlet, that kind of stuff. So we're doing minor fixes there. Once the city's approved that, then they'll be turned over. So that's where we are with pedestrian bridges. 100% of at-grade road crossings are complete. Those are the road crossings where you see the gates, the lights, and all that stuff. So when I say they're done, that means the track is installed, the crossing arms, the lights, the bells, everything is in there. We're still in the process of testing that equipment. And even though, whether it's concrete or asphalt, we know some of those areas are still rough. Once we're 100% done with construction, we'll go through and smooth all those out and make sure you get a smooth ride as you're driving along the road. Lastly, I want to point out, we installed over 281,800 linear feet of track. So that means the 26 mile of the alignment is double track. That means we have track that runs east to west and west to east, both for passenger and for freight. That 281,000 linear feet equals out to about 53 miles of track. So that's the span of track that we've laid down over the course of the last few years. Progress of the stations, you can see for the most part, all of the stations are, for the most part, complete. These stand at about 98% because we're still wrapping up some electrical and sound work, you know, testing out some conduit wiring for the passenger information displays on the platforms, sound wiring for speaker systems and whatnot. So for the most part, we're complete. That's this image right here is a photo of the Cypress Water Station closest to us. The 2 stations that still have additional work are downtown Carrollton. We're a little bit further along than 90% there. And then the 12th Street aerial station, which is basically the connection point from the Silver Line station, that'll give you that connection point to the orange and red line. We're a little bit, we're almost at 90% there. So just wrapping up some work there, but everything is scheduled to be ready for us to open before the end of the year. So construction work. This is our downtown Carrollton area. You can see we've already laid down track. This is the passenger track here. We did put in a new track for freight alignment. So freight does run on the track, both through Coppell and through Carrollton. It pretty much runs through on the whole alignment outside of a piece of Addison in North Dallas. One thing to note though is freight trains and passenger trains will not run alongside each other ever. So we control dispatch purposes there. So freight for the most part has run late at night or early in the morning. We'll continue to have that and we'll work with them to dispatch that so you don't have those issues. You can see we've installed sidewalk work. The parking lot has been poured. We still have some additional parking over here that needs to be completed. But for the most part, this station is complete. Although we did some additional work earlier this year when we extended this platform. This is the existing Green Line station, and this is the Green Line parking. So what you would do basically if you need to connect to the Green Line is you park your car here, take the sidewalk over, and then go up the elevator ramp or the staircase, and then you have access through the walkway to the Green Line. This track alignment here basically keeps going north. This is where DCTA would come in and connect to downtown Carrollton to provide their service. This is the ground level image of the Carrollton station. This photo is a couple months old, so we finished more of the column cladding there. You can see the platforms are for the most part complete. I'll point out we have the concrete barrier here to separate from the existing and the new freight lines. So again, we're stressing safety throughout the entire project. Luna Road crossing, this is complete. There is some additional work. I think that we have sporadically that we're closing a lane on occasion just to do some work and coordinating with the city of Carrollton. This is going towards Coppell with the PGBT entrance on the opposite side over here. This is the MacArthur Boulevard crossing. So again, crossing is complete. It's been smoothed out, but if we need to go back and do some additional concrete work there, we'll address that once we're fully done with construction. We talked about sound walls, so you can kind of see here the sound wall installation along Crestview Estates, the Mockingbird entrance will be kind of down here where these little graphics are. This is 100% installed, going all the way up here. And that's providing a barrier from the neighborhood to the traffic line. And we have Beltline Road. You have the Moore Road crossing here as well as Beltline. So the main reason I put this slide in is I've personally talked to a handful of residents here at Coppell having questions about gates, and sometimes gates coming down, partially going up and then coming back down. The reason that is because we have a radar detection system, so these crossings are so close together that a lot of them will detect the train coming here and then they'll align here. So we're working through the timing mechanisms there. Again, that's why we're in testing mode right now. So we're looking at various things to ensure that those gates stay down for safety purposes, and then we're working on the timing there to address it once we're in regular service. So again, that's the big thing though, is when you have crossings that are really close together, basically within a half mile to a third of a mile, they're going to react accordingly to the presence of the train. This is rail bridge construction. This is a freight bridge. This is basically the elementary school. Was elementary school. It's going to be, I think, an ad building or whatever Coppell IC is looking to do with that. So this is directly on that. This is the work that's been on one side, and kind of see where we're at for construction there. Continuing along Beltline, you have the Cypress Water Station. So this station is for the most part complete. Like I said, we still have a few items to handle for electrical and sound on the platform itself. You can kind of see the blue finishing there. The art installations just went up. I drove by there earlier today with the wind blowing. It was kind of real pretty looking from the side of the road on the line. For those of you that aren't aware, this will eventually be development. We have these connection points here on the easternmost and western side of the platform. So the trail will eventually run through here. You'll have a connection point to trail. And Cypress Waters has plans to bring this development north of North Lake and then connect up there to the station. So I think we're about a decade away from that, but I don't want to speak for our friends here at Cypress Waters. I just know we're in the process of working. This is a view of the Cypress Water Station itself. We do have some bus shelters here, but there will not be bus service at this location. So we will provide building service, and it'll have options to take you into the Valley Ranch, Las Colinas area at a connection point at the Beltline station along Washington. Continuing along the corridor, this will bring you here into the Biannual Airport North Station in the city of Grapevine. Kind of see the spur here, so this is the connection point. This is the existing TexRail station, which Trinity Metro operates. That's the actual TexRail train right there. We have double platforms here on our side. So if you were leaving the airport, you can kind of see the spur here, where going east it goes into Dallas and will take you here to Coppell, Carrollton, Richardson, Plano, etc. Or it'll take you to Tarrant County going into Grapevine, Richland Hills, and Fort Worth. This is the view of the DFW Airport North Station. Again, you have the Tex Rail platform here, and you have the Silver Line platform. And then lastly, basically, use your imagination. The station would be DFW Airport North Station is over here. The rail line comes in this way, along here, and then drops you off at Terminal B. This is the actual terminal. You can see one of the gates here with the airplane. There's a walkway that takes you right along here to connect to Terminal A if you need to come over here. And that is a walkway. You can also have a drop-off point here as well. All right, I know I covered a lot on the project itself. So do you have any questions regarding the project or construction? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. 2 days ago, on Tuesday, I came over to eat, and I was coming back home. I got to Mockingbird, and crossing gates and lights were down, and the traffic was already back up. And I sat there for almost 3 minutes. So I pulled out and gone down to MacArthur. So I live over the other side of the tracks, back up in the bird area of Coppell. Got down to MacArthur, crossing gates, the lights were down, the lights were going, traffic was back up. I could see down the fairway, the lights were down, and I could see the train. And it was moving very, very, very slow. And I know they're in the testing phase. But these crossing gates and lights were down for about 7 minutes or more. And that traffic back up, if there would have been some sort of emergency, fire, police, all those 3 crossings being down, they didn't have any access back into the neighborhood. Are they going to be speeding up the trains and getting these lights and everything taken care of so that it's not down so long?
Yes, sir. So you said this was last week or a couple of days ago?
This is just Tuesday. This
Okay.
week.
So we did have a signaling error a couple of weeks ago that we looked into. So the train does go up various speeds because, like I said, when we're in test mode, we're testing various things. So whether it's we're testing the equipment at the crossings, we're testing the validity of the track, we're testing the train itself. So we're working through all those things. But again, in the case of an emergency, we have regular communication with Coppell, fire and that kind of thing to address that. But again, we're in the testing phase and we're working out all those things to make sure the timing mechanisms work as they should once we're in operating services. So we're working through that. Yes, sir.
On Beltline, where the bridge goes over Coppell, Beltline comes east to west and then turns south. Where the bridge is, right underneath the bridge, the weeds and grass are about this high, and there seems to be an issue with the city that they don't seem to claim it, and I don't know who owns this and stuff. How hard would it be to go mow those weeds down so it doesn't look so bad coming into our county?
So we are under a regular maintenance program regarding that. We did get backed up a few weeks ago because of equipment malfunctions and whatnot. So we are coming through and taking care of that. Depending on what you're talking about, and forgive me because I'm not familiar with every single spot along the 26 miles, but there is sometimes some discrepancy on who's responsible for maintaining that area on the right of way, whether it's us or each corresponding city. We typically work that out. So, but if it was recent, like I said, we've gone through that to address a lot of that. And a lot of times, I'll get to it at the end of the presentation, but if you just call and let us know, we'll address it.
When I mowed yards, which I did for 13 years, I see all this stuff around town where the property line's here, and then there's a curve over here, and there's this much grass that's not mowed. Because, this is not our responsibility. I always mowed that, and they have your customers. So hopefully you guys can do something about this.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to mention, Nico Cantu, working for the design build contractor, most of our jobs. So I just wanted to let you know that we are, part of that was, as we're finishing this and turning it over to the owner, to the guard, the maintenance along that comes, the maintenance of the guideway comes along that. So it might have been some transition between, as we're finishing up, maybe we didn't get to it, Dar's trying to get to it. So yeah, we can, I know there was some parents
Yes, sir.
So I guess I'm just having a difficult time understanding why the testing is taking so long. You know, we're hearing from people all the time about the horn blowing on different hours of day and night. You know, this is by no means the first time y'all have installed crossing arms or any kind of, you know, crossed roads. So when is the testing going to end so that the horn blowing will also end?
So again, testing, like I said, it's not as simple as, oh, the train's working, so we're good, you know, let's light it up. We have to test several different components, both on the vehicle and on the track, and then we have to receive clearance on that from the FRA. So what we've done to address the train horn in particular is we work with each individual city to install additional safety measures to have quiet zones. I'll cover that in the next portion of the presentation, but I'll go ahead and answer your question. So we've done everything we can on our end, and the city has done everything they can on their end. We're in the process of getting all that reviewed by the FRA right now, and we're looking to have those quiet zones activated by the end of the month. So basically, we have to run the train and sound the horn for safety purposes, just as we're approaching the crossing, as we're going through the crossing, and then leaving the crossing. So, hold on, let me finish. So, once the quiet zone is activated, you won't hear the horn anymore unless there's basically something on or near the track that the train engineer sees that's impeding his progress. If there's nothing there, you will no longer hear the horn because the quiet zone is activated. But again, we're awaiting word from the FRA to make sure that they're gone through and checked everything that we put in place to make sure that quiet zone can be activated.
Okay, but at the last meeting at the First Methodist Church in Coppell a few weeks ago, we were told that the FRA had already come out and done the inspection and that we could expect to have that cleared in a week or two. So where does that stand?
I don't know. I wasn't at that meeting.
Well, I was. That's what they
So,
told
and
us.
again, I don't know who you spoke with, but again, I was just in a meeting and FRA has been coming out and they're expecting different portions. So it's a whole 26-mile alignment. We were told that everything should be in place by the end of the month.
I think it'd be really helpful if you could provide a little bit more clarity on exactly where those inspections by the FRA were conducted and exactly where we are with respect to approval, so that we have a little bit better understanding of when the horn blowing will stop, when the quiet zones will become active, so that, you know, we're not getting questions all the time wondering, you know, should we sell our house?
Sure.
Because this is not livable.
We can do that for you, and I apologize if you got some misinformation. Like I said, I wasn't at that meeting, but I know we've all been in continuous conversations, and we've been told that, you know, we're looking to have all of the quiet zones established by the end of the month. So, yes, sir.
Can you limit the horn blowing to reasonable hours? It's before 6 a.m. some morning, so, you know.
So if you're hearing the horn before 6 a.m., that's more than likely freight. That's not us coming through on testing.
Are you sure?
Yes, because we don't
Before 6 o'clock.
get on the alignment before 8 a.m.
And then before all this started, you know, they were at 5:30, they were 3 by 5:30.
So again, you have freight running through here. It may run at different times now because we're testing. But if you're hearing a horn, it's not the silver line coming through that road.
Our vet's office is going crazy because we had to take a dog in this week, and the dogs are not used to these horns. And every time they go toot or do the thing, it's like every puppy and cat in the vet is just going.
Right, I understand, and like I said, the only thing I can tell you is just bear with us as we continue to kind of go through this process and await approval from the FRA. We got a few more weeks and we should be.
And I do want to just add for the FRA testing, it has been over the past, FRA wants and compliance checks have been over the last 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. We just have streets that are close proximity to the crossings that they're having to restrike theirs as well. So, like Mark said, by the end of the month, we expect to have quiet zones. We are working through those comments that FRA has provided.
Thank you.
Hold on, do we have any other questions besides testing or training? Because I may cover your question on the next one. Yes, ma'am.
How many parking spots are going to be at the Coppell?
I'll cover that in the next section.
Oh, that's the next section. Oh.
All right.
Construction.
Any other questions? All right, let me move forward and hopefully I can answer your question. All right, so the vehicles themselves, These are state-of-the-art, low maintenance, they're diesel powered with electric starters. They meet strict EPA standards, so basically as green as a train can be, these are. We have seating for over 230 passengers. You can kind of see here overhead storage throughout the train, bike hooks. You don't see it here, but we do have bike hooks spaced out throughout the vehicle, so it's not like if you're familiar with our light rail system, you're pretty much confined to the C car, which is the center car that has the only level boarding. These will have level boarding throughout as well. And then we do have a large luggage compartment in one of the train cars where you can store big boxes or large luggage, as well as like if you have like a big e-bike, you can wrap it around and hold it in place. So another thing, we'll have CCTV cameras within the train, and then externally outside the train, we'll also have cameras on the platform. Those will be monitored by DART PD. Again, we want to stress safety and security. And then this being a heavy rail vehicle, which defers stormwater light rail vehicles, you can kind of see here, there's no catenary wire connecting it to the overhead, so it's not electric powered. So these will have an engineer basically piloting the train, and then we'll also have a conductor. So the conductor will be on the train the entire time for each trip. They'll be checking tickets and then assisting passengers with any questions or concerns they have as they're going back and forth through the duration of the trip.
Mario, for each train, a conductor,
An engineer.
and an engineer who will be checking tickets.
The conductor will be checking tickets. Yes, sir. So testing, we kind of already dabbled into this. We're going to have simulated stops at each station. So what that basically means, like I said, a couple weeks ago we started end-to-end testing. So we're running trains from DFW to Plano, and then from Plano to DFW. We are also doing segments. So, for example, we've been testing out on this side of the corridor because we've been doing some track work on the eastern side, and then we'll flip it. So we'll do track work over here, and then we'll do testing over in the Plano-Richardson area. But for the most part, what we are doing end-to-end, we're running simulated stops, station to station. There is no passenger pickup or drop-off. I've kind of already said this. We're testing everything. So we're testing the crossings, we're testing the track, we're testing the vehicles themselves. I mean, anything you can look at, we want to make sure that it's 100% ready to go by the time we open up for service later this year. There is no quiet zone observance. Kind of talked about that already. We're looking to have those in place here before the end of the month. And then test runs will occur during the day with occasional night runs. Those occasional night runs, like for example, on my way here, I noticed we had two vehicles coupled together. We won't do that during regular service, which means we're taking one out to Plano or bringing it out to more than likely the TRE yard, which is in Irving, to get it looked at for some kind of maintenance or service. So a lot of times we'll have to run them later, and if we do run late at night, I know we did some testing a few weeks back where you may have heard a horn like around 2 in the morning. That's because we had to wait for Texrail to finish their service, and we were doing runs into the airport now. So we had to basically wait for Texrail to alleviate the track, and then we had to meet FAA's regulations as well, so which called for us to go into a little bit later than we would like. But like I said before, by and large, our testing hours are going to be roughly, the same hours as construction, which for the most part run 7 to 7, I think. Is that right, David, here in Coppell? For the most part. But like I said, that means starting at 7. That means we still have to go through meetings, personnel checks, equipment checks, all that. That's why I said earlier, we're typically not on the track until at least 8 a.m. So if you're hearing a horn earlier than that, more than likely it's freight coming. New vehicles require a new home for those vehicles. That is where the Silverline EMF comes in. EMF is the equipment maintenance facility. It's located at 3201 Technology Drive in their tech corridor out in Plano. So over there, DART bought a building, and we are also constructing 2 new buildings basically in the rail guideway. I'll show you pictures here in just a second. Those 2 new buildings will basically be where the trains live, if you will. We're going to wash and maintain them there. There'll be a canopy structure for when we're doing fuel, and we'll have an underground fuel tank to fill those vehicles up. This is a really big coup for us because the EMF is located literally a few hundred feet from the Shiloh Road Station. So I'll show you your photo. So this is the building that DART purchased. This is the rail guideway. This is an older photo. You can kind of see we've already torn up track, and we're in the process of putting in buildings. This is the actual Silverline train. The buildings are going right here, and I'll show you here. So this is an actual vantage point standing at the Shiloh Road Station looking west. There's a spur, so basically the train can spur off the original track and go directly into the maintenance facility here. And this is a shot of the maintenance facility being built. So this photo is from Monday, and this photo is from yesterday. So we're making really good headway there. We have those buildings in place by the time we go into service. The trains themselves. So we're looking at an operating plan of 4 a.m. to roughly 12:30. Those aren't the exact times. We'll have an exact schedule once we announce our opening date. It'll be about 6 to 8 weeks before then. We'll have a set schedule. You'll be able to look that up online, both on dark.org and through the GoPass app. So you'll be able to plan your trip accordingly that way. But again, we're looking at first train out of DFW Airport around 4 a.m. with the last one running somewhere around that 12:30 a.m. schedule. Trains will run every 30 minutes in both directions during peak weekday service. So that peak time, you're looking at roughly 6 to 9 a.m. So think of like your morning rush hour traffic, if you would. And then 4 to 7 p.m., your evening rush hour traffic. Again, that's only weekday service. So you're looking at 2 trains an hour during that peak time. All other times during the week and on the weekends, we'll only run 1 train every hour. And one of the good benefits here is we do have the ability to adjust our train schedule for special event service. It's just a matter of coordinating with each individual city. Like I said, just did a presentation yesterday in Addison. We had Boomtown last week. So if you've ever been to Boomtown, great festival. Traffic is awful. We're trying to leave there afterwards. So hopefully we can alleviate some of that with having trains to shuttle people out to get them going east and west to different places. Lastly, this is our operating plan. The dark horse still has to basically sign, seal, and approve this. And I think that's going to occur at the August board, one of the August board meetings where we'll look at that, basically rubber stamping. There is a possibility that this could change, but we haven't been given notice of that yet. We just recently underwent a fare restructure in March. A lot of information there. I'll basically keep it simple. If you want to ride the Silver Line and you're going to the airport, it's going to cost you $3 one way. Once you get back from, visiting your kids or your fun time in Vegas, hop back in your car and get on the Silver Line. It's going to cost you another $3. So you're looking at a round trip ticket to and from the airport for $6. If you want to use east to west transit, you need to go out to Plano or something and then come back again, $6. We do have reduced fares for veterans, senior service, senior citizens, different groups. Robert, who's outside, who's our community rep, he can probably go over that information with you if you want more of those details. And lastly, parking. Parking always comes up. So our focus right now has been on getting the train operational and getting people on board. So that's what we're focusing on. So parking itself, we're looking at different measures for extended parking and overnight parking. Right now, if you were to come to a DART station at one of the light rail stations, you're able to park your vehicle and use our service. You can leave it there overnight and you won't get towed. If it stays there for an extended period of time, there may be an issue right now. But again, we're looking at addressing that right now once Silver Line comes into play. So we're looking at different measures of what different agencies are doing right now to address that. I know Trinity Metro has like a program where they scan your plate, you put in your plate number, and that's how you pay for parking. That may be something we adopt. Again, we're looking at different agencies across the country to see what they do, to see the easiest method that we can operate. Parking spaces. So for Cypress Waters, you have 200 spaces. DFW North, you have 300 spaces, and then downtown Carrollton, you have 400 spaces. So basically within a couple miles there in Grapevine and Carrollton, you're looking at almost 1,000 spaces that you have for parking between those 3 stations. So I will point out that the Knoll Trail station, if you're ever going out towards Dallas, that station does not have parking. That station is basically tucked in between an apartment complex and an office building. We have a space on the parking deck where we call it Kiss and Ride. So it's basically a wraparound drive-through. You'll drop your passenger off, give them a kiss, wish them well, pull out, and then be on your way, and then they'll be hopping on the train. There is a handful of handicap spaces, but by and large, there's no parking there. If you want to access the Dallas area, I recommend you hit the Addison station, which is less than a half mile away. Lastly, you can kind of see there in regards to travel time, You are looking at roughly a 1-hour trip from the Shiloh Road Station in Plano to the AW Airport. Here from the Cypress Water Station, it's 15 minutes. So the Silverline team, again, I'm in charge of communications. We've done, I think, a pretty good job of keeping updates on our website through text email notifications, which you can sign up for on Silverline, on dart.org/Silverline, and through different mailers. We work with each individual city to update them on construction updates and any service changes, traffic issues that may come up. You're always welcome to visit our website, again, dart.org/Silverline. If you scroll down to your individual city, we post basically construction updates with impact on traffic every week. So by Monday morning, that's typically up, and then you can kind of check out to see what the work is going on that we're doing for that week. As we move forward, our focus is on getting out and talking to as many people as possible. This is our last round of these big biannual meetings. We'll be going out and talking to different groups. I have a presentation next week with a big realtor association group to kind of go over what we're doing as well here at Coppell. But if you want us to come out and talk to your HOA, you want us to come out and talk to your apartment group, your civic group, Lions Club, Rotary Club, I can't think of any other civic clubs off my head, but we'll come out and talk to your church. You name it, we'll be there. We want to make sure to keep you informed. And as we get ready to open, we'll work in concert with each individual city to figure out what's the best way to keep you all informed of opening day events, service, and all that stuff. Again, we want to provide the best information and the latest information possible to each resident of each community. The last thing, again, I've said several times, we want to stress safety when we're doing construction and as we go into revenue service. Any school that's located within a half mile of the rail alignment, our community relations team with Robert and some other folks, as well as our Silverline team, has gone out and done presentations to school staff, school administration, and then this fall, once school gets going here in August, we're already making plans to visit different campuses and do presentations to PTA groups and the students themselves. Again, we understand kids love trains, but we have to go into the safetiness of that to make sure that they're aware of the hazards that can come with that. So this is our rail safety program. Robert is our certified rail safety expert, so he goes out and does a full presentation on rail safety. We have a video you can kind of see there, and then different handouts in various languages that we hand out to parents and kids that are informed. Again, if you need rail safety, you want us to come out and do that for your civic group, HOA, apartment complex, business, we're happy to do it. Lastly, how to stay connected. I've said the address several times. Please visit us, dart.org/Silverline. You can email us, silverline@dart.org. That comes to myself and different members of the Silverline team. I just ask that you give us a couple days to respond to you. If you have a maintenance issue, you can call the DART hotline, kind of like Nico said right now. So right now, a lot of the maintenance things, so to your points, are overgrown grass, or if you have some barrels that are turned over, your best bet is to call this hotline. It's manned 24 hours, so if you don't get someone, you can leave a message and they'll respond to you within 24 hours, get your concern, and we'll take care of it as quickly as possible. Once we start making the transition, I don't know if we have a set date on that, but when we get closer to opening, we'll change all this information, it'll come to us directly about it. So again, we'll coordinate with each individual city and make sure that all you residents have that information so you know who to contact when you issue. Okay, yes sir.
So I understood at one point you were saying that it was going to run from 7 to 7, but because it takes about an hour to get geared up, that the train wouldn't actually hit the rail until about 8 a.m., but then you showed a slide to show that it would run from 4:30 a.m. to midnight. Could you reconcile that for me, please?
So testing would be roughly from, so I said testing falls under typically construction hours. That's operational hours.
Okay, thank you.
Yes sir.
How long would the wait be if you take the Silver Line to Grapevine and have to wait for a train to go to DFW? Or they schedules coordinated between those two trains?
I'm sorry, how long would the wait be if you did what?
If you took the Silver Line to Grapevine and then you switched trains to go to DFW Airport?
So right now I don't have an answer for that because we don't have a set schedule. So the way it would work though is you're going to continue on. So if you're going directly into the terminal, you wouldn't have to switch trains.
Okay.
You would stay directly on the Silver Line. But for example, let's say you missed a connection point we're looking to coordinate to where if you needed to hop on to TexRail and use their train, you can. That would be a separate fare if you needed to do that. But once we're operational, you won't need to get off at the Grapevine station and then hop on a different train to go all the way into the terminal. We'll take you all the way in. Yes, sir.
Okay, I live in the neighborhood on Crestview Drive between Mockingbird and MacArthur, just north of the sound wall. And since the sound wall's been built, now there's a couple of things here. One is, part of that sound wall, there was going to be some landscaping done behind there as well, between the alley and the wall. But there's a couple of things now. Once that wall is put up, the mowing, and maybe this ties into, piggybacks off the last question about maintenance. But once that wall went up, the mowing between the alley and essentially the railroad tracks ceased. And we got our homeowners association to just run a strip right next to the alley just to knock down essentially weeds, natural grass, whatever. But so there's the question of what happened to the maintenance after that wall went up. The other one is, what's the time frame on the landscaping that was, kind of agreed to? And then, I know this isn't you, but you might be aware, is there an update on the North Texas Council of Governments hike and bike trail? So I'm kind of throwing a aggregate question on
sure,
that
no problem.
section.
So in regard to the mowing, like I said, we had equipment issues.
And I can go to that. To be honest, it was our responsibility. To be honest, not seeing it because there's now a wall there. We probably just forgot about it. If there's an issue, we'll send somebody out there to go get that fixed. That mowing, it stops raining and it'll stop growing here pretty soon, like every other Texas summer. But until then, we can go get that done for you guys. We're on landscaping. That is part of our contract. And the mad dash to get the track built, we ran out of time to kind of plant during planting season in the spring. That will be done by October.
Okay. Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions. Is I certainly hope that you wouldn't start that in August.
Right.
Just to watch it die.
So we'll probably do some underground irrigation stuff like that, probably August, September-ish time frame.
Okay.
But then the planting itself, we're going to wait as long as we can until October.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Brody, you want to tackle the trail question?
Yeah, so for phase 3, which is where the work for the hike and bike trail will be done at Coppell and Carrollton. So right now phase 2 is from Surveyor Boulevard in Madison all the way through Clinton. And so the way that the funding worked is that how phase 1 was some trail connections and crossings, and phase 2 is this. So phase 3 is currently being funded, which will be for Coppell and Carrollton. And once that goes through the bid process, it would ideally be able to be completed as soon as phase 2 is done. And phase 2 is aiming for around summer of 2027.
Okay, phase 3 was not funded the last time I understood.
So funding was submitted last month.
There it is. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Since I moved into my house in 2004, 35% of the yard that we had at the time is now rock, pavers, this, that, and the other, because I discovered that rock and pavers don't die, as my sod did and everything else I kept trying to do. Wouldn't it be more, and for water usage long run, to do more of that kind of stuff instead of grass and a bunch of plants? And we all know how well the city of Dallas and the county of Dallas maintains projects after they get it done. You just drive down Central Expressway. And so the question will be, in the long term, when you are short of money, what's the first thing you're going to do to save money? Turn off the irrigation.
Well, so, John, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was never a plan to have full irrigation along the trail and along the rail alignment. Is that correct?
Right.
So, what's going to get planted there? So, like the gentleman that was talking about landscaping, it's going to be native and then heat tolerant. So we'll address the watering and whatnot once it gets planted, but it's not something that we're going to maintain. That was never the plan.
I think from earlier conversations, there was going to be like a 1-year temporary spraying.
Correct,
but
there's going to be like no sprinkler systems or no drip systems or anything like that.
That's why rock would be a good idea.
But the reasoning for that is there's an Atmos gas line under there as well. So now it's a conflict. So it's not as straightforward as just laying down some irrigation.
Another reason is that railroads, they typically do not like irrigation near the well system, no matter what. They try to stay away from that at all costs. So that's the reason why they use native television.
Yeah, the problem we've got right now is just on the other side of the moor, where the train goes through. Goes 2-3 years ago, the rail took every time. Dumped over there with that one little small house back in the line. They had to bring it back, throw it back.
Sir?
You probably mentioned this item, what's the current estimate on when revenue service will start?
We don't have a set date yet. We're just looking to open before the end of the year.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What is the turnaround time for airport?
It's an hour. It's an hour.
No, I mean, as far as when the train comes in, how long is it going to take for it to right now? It's, because right now, Tex Rail comes in, I mean, the usual, just the bus tracks right now. So I assume you guys are going to take over that.
Yeah, our coordination will be with Tex Rail, and that's what.
Like your usual size and all that?
Yeah, we're going to use both. We're going to use one side and another use another. We'll be timing it so that we can also BFW's North Station that's designed so that we can hold trains there as we will be switching. The turnaround time is like 7.5 minutes before you turn around.
The reason I ask is that I'm here to come out like walk. So I don't have to walk get to the North Station. You know, I'm not like worried. I might just sit there for 45 minutes waiting for the Dallas train.
Yeah, it's not going to be bad.
I thought about this thing. Both at the same time. So at least you want to make 15 at the tops.
Yeah.
But without doing that, so you're going to mess up something going, mess up something going easy.
Well, we have a lot of coordination. We have to do our coordination, Tex Rail. That's the primary thing. Plus, we also have to provide opportunities for village for 4 different freight areas along the alignment. Most of that's going to be tonight. There's crossing downtown Carrollton and things like that. So, but that's the primary thing with our scheduling will be coordinating the scheduling of Tex Rail.
Yeah, I don't know. Like y'all train from one station and then go out and 10 meetings. Here's 20 minutes.
If y'all couldn't hear that, it was basically, it's a turnaround time. Once a train arrives to the airport, to actual terminal, it's about 7.5 minutes. But we still have to coordinate with Tex Rail before we can give exact times on how that's going to be. So, yes, sir.
So my questions are about quiet zones and geographically speaking, for Coppell, what is considered quiet zones? Is it every station or every crossing in Coppell? Is it the beginning of the train entering the city limits and then exiting the city?
It's per crossing. It's every crossing except the crossing at the Valley entrance, Ledbetter on the far east side over by the Trinity River. That one won't be a quiet zone. We worked with the city of Coppell on additional ones that we added since Freeport and Royal Lane will be quiet zones as well. So everything from Royal Lane past MacArthur will be a quiet zone, including the crossing right at Moore Road, in between Moore Road and the Cypress Water Station. Yes, there are 2 crossings right there. Yes, the first one at Moore Road at Delmine is in the city of Coppell, which I've been told by many people that is part of the quiet zone. The next crossing, about 250 feet west of Moore and Delmine, crosses Delmine, that is in the city of Dallas. Yes. That's the one that leads you right to the station. Is that quiet? That is quiet. Do we have documentation that will be quiet? Yes, it's in our environmental impact. Okay. So it's a possibility, there's a way to get that. Yes, if you go to our solar line, I took pictures of it. Yeah, it's,
I think it's 18.
if you go to our website, we have our environmental impact statement, it lists the environmental impacts, and it covers noise and vibrations, and noise is covered under quiet zones, as well as the walls. Actually, the walls of Coppell aren't noise walls, but they're the exact same thing as the noise walls. They were better than walls. They weren't a requirement of the environmental impact statement. Those were added. We also added a quiet zone, so
That's more and.
those are both quiet zones.
So the crossing just to the south, that one you had your pointer on, that's actually the city of Dallas.
Yes.
We are just to the left where we live. We get the blessing during testing of the horns and the floor and belt line. And 10 seconds later, the horns crossing the belt line into the station. My concern is, and I think what you're saying is the environmental impact statement states that the crossing of the belt line to the station is a quiet zone.
Yes. And there's one additional quiet zone that on Denton Tap where the freight continues to run. So this tips off here, and this continues onward. We've also added a quiet zone at Denton Tap there that will cover the freight that goes through there.
So no horns from the freight station.
Right, correct. So the freight has to follow the quiet zone as well.
Okay, so the freight line also runs through this.
Right.
It won't come through here. They don't come through there.
It comes through.
They come right through there. Is that considered quiet?
And the quiet zones cover the freight as well. It's not just our train, it's all there.
As in the EIS?
That's in the, yeah, that's in the, yes.
I do want to mention that the Denton Tap White Zone is on a different schedule that we implemented that was a later add by, I guess, the city that we.
It was part of the.
I know, we're still coordinating with the city to get all that paperwork completed. So it won't be until July when that goes into effect, but it will be shortly after. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, Jerry.
So in Garland, they have the freight line separate from they just walk it out to the south and north. I guess I was wondering,
That issue is we have light rail, which you can't run on the same tracks as the freight line. So those are separate. But we did purchase the Cotton Belt in 1990. And we've owned it since then. It's not a complete, they have operating rights. So railroad law is very complicated. The freight providers have operating rights, and they're allowed to run on there. We have the dispatch. They always say they want to run more trains. We want to make sure that we run more trains, but they haven't run more trains in a long time. So, we have the dispatch, and we tell them when they can operate and when we can operate. Well, we're going to operate on both. By direction, and the freight will operate, can operate on both as well.
Any other questions?